Yeah, it'll get you quick. All of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, this show's rad. Aloha folks, welcome back to Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour. This isn't the Breezeway. I'm sure if you watch the show, you realize this isn't the Breezeway. I'm at the Tiki Lounge. This is my buddy Kurt's place. He lives like kind of next city over, and I haven't been here. I feel like I was here just the other day, but I haven't been here in 4 years. And I'll have to show you around. It's shocking, the amount of collectibles and all kinds of stuff. We have an exciting cocktail. It's an old cocktail, and I found it in the Trader Vic's Bartender's Guide from 1948. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to bring on to his own bar show, well, my show, his bar, my buddy Kurt.
How's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me to your bar.
Thanks for coming.
This is, it's tight back here. It's like,
it is.
But you have everything you need, like you've got it plumbed and stuff, right?
It's all good to go. Yeah.
Super rad. I think the last time that you had me over here was, well, I think it was 4 years ago now.
Okay.
Which is so weird because we live real close to each other, and as time goes on, what you've done to this place since I was here last is insane.
Thank you. It's been a labor of love. Yeah, it's come a long way since you've been here.
You have more of these chunk lamps than I've ever seen at somebody's house.
Yeah, I kind of have a lucite obsession, to say the least.
And like all kinds of other collectibles and stuff. One of the collectibles that you found that I think it's probably one of your biggest scores is your vintage Whitco bar.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
I had found a vintage electric fireplace for $15, if you can believe that.
That's shocking.
And the person let me give him Venmo, and I almost didn't go up to the place because it was about an hour-and-a-half drive.
Okay.
And so I was going to be like, I'll come another day, so I would have missed it by that much. And finally I just said, hey, it was a Sunday, I'll bust out the drive, drove up there.
Estate sale or?
No, they were just cleaning out a person's house.
Okay.
And you would look at the house, it was probably built in the 60s, but just really blah. They had a bin outside. So I'm like, And I went in and I said, the place looked terrible, like nothing cool. I always say, do you have anything else? And they said, yeah, we got this dilapidated 90s couch over here. And I'm like,
tempting.
I'm gonna pass on that one. And I looked down and they had that moss-colored green 60s carpet, you know, and looked down and started seeing some stains on it. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I was fixating on the stains, but I trailed the stains over, and to the right in this little alcove was this godlike Whitco, I've never seen, huge, like twice the size of a normal Whitco bar with an overhang, and the statues were like glaring at me like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of holding it in, like, because I wanted to say like, holy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's a rare one, like super rare one.
I was just like, so I'm like, okay, keep cool. And I'm like, what's up with the weird bar? I wanted to keep it kind of cool. And, and they're like, oh, we hadn't even listed that thing yet. And I'm like, oh my God. And I think the lady said, yeah, it was my mom's, and she had a real weird taste. I'm like, she's got a cool taste.
Seriously, mom sounds rad.
Yeah, and she had, they even had like a model ship on it, and old liquor bottles.
Oh, wow.
There was some hanging floats from the 60s, and it was just like, you could tell they partied there. And then the clinchers, I looked to the left, and they had all the stools. One was missing the upholstery, but all the others had it. So there were 4 stools, and it was just like too good to be true. They said, oh, I think the neighbor wants it. They made this phone call, and I'm like, okay, that's where I walk out and I get my $15 fireplace and call it a day.
Right, yeah.
And then they said, no, the neighbor doesn't want it. And I'm like, oh my God. So we negotiated on it, Venmo'd them, and disassembled it before anybody else came in, and barely fit it in my van. Yeah.
It's a very rare Whitco bar, and it's an incredible shape. I know that feeling where you go, oh my God. Oh my God, there's a thing that you don't see ever.
Yeah, that kind of sealed the deal for me, that you never know, You go into places that look like they're amazing, and then, the person's like, oh, I want $5,000 for that.
Oh, right.
And then you go to these places that are junky, and it's like you don't know what's behind door number 1 or door number 2. It could be a classic car just sitting in the garage.
I was telling you that the same thing kind of happened with me when I got my Whitco bar. I drove all the way out in my Econoline to like I don't know where the hell that was, the high desert or something?
I think it's off the 14.
Oh, off the 14. Yeah. Okay, yeah, see, I don't even know where I was. It was an old rundown house, and like the pool was empty and stuff, and she's like, well, I know that this bar is real old, and the leopard print looks like it's worn away from the front, and you'll probably have to replace the leopard print, but, I know what they're worth, but I think $200 is probably a good, it's probably a good deal for both of us. And I was like, yes. That's a very, very good deal. Thank you. And then, yeah, like I picked it up and ran with it.
I think at that point you feel like somebody's going to kind of come in and debacle the whole deal.
Yeah. The other way that I know Kurt is he's a photographer. Just like I photograph the band X all the time, he photographs the band The Damned all the time. Well, when they play. Those are two of my favorite bands.
Great bands.
Great band. And he's a surf photographer, and he has a shockingly big collection of surfboards.
I'm probably a professional hoarder.
Yeah,
more than anything.
But you hoard really cool stuff.
Eventually it becomes cool. At first it looks like stuff people throw in the trash, and then 10 years from now it's like really cool stuff.
How many surfboards do you have?
Last I counted, I have 300. I think there's about, I want to say 45 spread out throughout the house.
If you collect 300 records, you go, whoa, dude, it takes up a lot of room. You're like, that's 300 records. If you collect 300 surfboards, you go, whoa, that takes up a lot of room. Anyway, there's a cocktail that I stumbled over in the Trader Vic's bartender's guide the other night, the Raffles Gin
Sling.
Thank you. This is Trader Vic's version of the original Singapore Sling. This cocktail was invented at the Raffles Hotel in Singapore by a guy named Nguyen Ting Boon. I don't know if that's correct or not. Somewhere between 1899 and 1915. Supposedly the Raffles Hotel was like this big, they compare it to like a cake topper in the middle of Singapore because it looks like it was made out of frosting. It's like a very colonial looking building, and supposedly it was full of expats, that whole area. So Nguyen Tong Boom created this cocktail, but the recipe was kind of lost because in the 1940s, Japan came in and invaded Singapore. So the recipe was lost. Supposedly they found it, but this is Vic's version, and Trader Vic always had a little bit of his own license when he was making these cocktails. So for this cocktail, we will be using Cherry Heering, Benedictine, Hayman's Old Tom Gin, Gosling's Ginger Beer, Angostura Bitters, and lime juice. You said you already squeezed lime juice.
I did.
So we can jump right into that. Actually, somebody like in the comments had been like, dude, why do you keep cutting fruit and squeezing it? Why don't you just pre-do that? So
I think you're showing that it's fresh, which is great.
it is fresh.
Luckily, everything here is already fresh as well.
Okay.
So just down to your left and it's marked. Bottom
Oh,
fridge.
in the fridge, okay.
That's right.
It's got a fridge back here. It's oh, down at the bottom?
Yes.
Do you want to switch with me? Because you know your bar. Who's driving this thing here? I've noticed that you have 2 Hamilton Beach mixers back there.
I do.
Okay.
Double-fisted mixing. I wanted the triple one, but I don't have 3 hands, so I figured 2 was the perfect number, right? I don't know. Somebody once said that I have 2 of everything in my house.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah.
Okay, good move.
They didn't say that in a nice way, though.
Okay, so we need a ½ an ounce of lime juice per cocktail. So we're gonna build this cocktail in the glass that we're going to serve it in. And you wanna do a tall footed Pilsner glass for this cocktail. It says to build it over ice. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Okay. Dude, and you have like the diver's helmet thing.
Doesn't everybody?
I didn't even know it was a thing until recently.
I actually found the original Film Rewards catalog.
Really?
That has it, and it's like in the back, I want to say like 1968 or something.
Oh, okay.
So almost like the man cave section with like poker chips and, you know, owl clock and all that stuff. Might not have been 60s, might have been like early 70s.
That's so rad. Yeah, why don't you pour ½ an ounce per cocktail?
Okay. There's that. I do bigger portions, but that's okay.
So 1 dash of bitters per cocktail, up and down. There we go. If you're gonna dash it, you really wanna dash it. 1 ounce of Cherry Heering. This is a brand new bottle. What do you think about Cherry Heering?
I like it.
Here, can you open that? What do you think about corks?
Kind of quirky. All right. 1 ounce, right?
Yep. Okay, 2 ounces of Old Tom Gin. Now, Old Tom Gin is a very specific kind of gin. I just learned about this recently.
How do you feel about corks?
Love corks. Oh, smells like gin. So Old Tom Gin is like a little bit sweeter than dry gin. The name purportedly comes from wooden plaques shaped like a black cat, an Old Tom. Oh, like a tomcat.
Like a tomcat. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
These signs were mounted on the outside of walls of some pubs above a public walkway in 18th century England. The British government tried to stem the flow of gin with prohibitive taxes and licensing, which drove the scene underground. Under the cat's paw sign was a slot to put money in and a lead tube. From the tube would come a shot of gin poured by the bartender inside.
Crazy.
Wild times in 18th century England. Okay, 2 ounces of this per cocktail. Ooh,
Corky.
corky.
Now we're getting crazy.
Yeah. I think this is gonna be it's gonna be a boozy one.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. I live close. Like, oh no.
Oh man. Remember the last time at your place?
Oh.
I had an Uber home.
That happens. Okay, so we are going to fill the glasses with ginger beer. But you want to leave a little bit of room because we're gonna have to garnish this, and the garnish is gonna take up a little bit of room also. Let's say leave maybe like a half an inch or so of room. So there's the ginger beer. And I don't know about you, but I like Gosling's ginger beer better than Brandenburg or Bundenburg.
I really don't know a lot about ginger beer to have an acquired taste for any brand, so sorry.
Any opinion at all?
No.
Okay. And then Benedictine. We're gonna float the Benedictine. Should we use like a bar spoon, you think? Yeah. Okay, this is my technique to float. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little shaky on camera.
Are you? Cool, okay. And then what the recipe says is to garnish it with a spent lime shell from squeezing the limes. These are right off my tree.
Dang.
Probably should have left more room. Yeah, let's do it.
Saying.
Ooh, what a fancy little waterfall. You're like, yeah, killer. There's booze all over my bar now.
It's all good. That usually happens after like the last drink. So
Not the first one?
It does look rad when it's done.
Yeah. Okay, so leave more room when you garnish it with like a spent lime shell. But it looks great. I like the gradation of color. You can grab some mint out of this thing. This is fresh from my new mint plant. Yeah, I got a mint plant now. But if you're gonna plant mint, you gotta plant it away from everything, or you gotta plant it in a planter box or something, otherwise it'll take over your whole life. Your whole life. And of course you wanna give it a little bit of a whack. Fresh mint. I'm gonna take the bottom little leaves off. And then Vic says to garnish it with one of his little dudes. Thank you, sir. Like this. Menahunis. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the back here. And so from Trader Vic's in the 1950s by way of the Long Bar at the Raffles Hotel, this is the Raffles Gin Sling. Look at these fancy brass straws. All right, dude, it's been a long, long time. Good to see you again, and thanks for having me.
Man, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Cheers.
totally. Oh,
Wow.
whew.
Complex.
Complex for sure.
It's good. I like
Is it?
I like it. It's
interesting.
It's different.
It's definitely different. It's very boozy. It kind of tastes like medicine a little bit. There's kind of like a hint of a spice, like something almost like a John the Beachcomber spice, but not
Did
really.
you say medicine?
Yeah, medicine. It must be the Cherry Heering.
I was kind of thinking cough syrup for a minute, but
Yeah, cough syrupy. Do you like it really?
yeah, I kind of got a love-hate thing going on with it.
I think I'm in the same place. Like, it's interesting.
It's got a little heat,
Mhm.
but not like a 151 heat. It's kind of got like a brandy heat to it almost. But I can't stop drinking it.
I know. It's one of those drinks where you're like, I think this is horrible, but then it's like, but it's also really good.
You know, I'll have to say that the first time I ever had a zombie, and I was in my infantile stages of tiki drinks, I had it at La Marinara.
What did you just say? La Marinara.
La Marinara.
La Mariana? La Marinara is an Italian place.
But yeah, so I got the zombie thinking, I know everything about, drinks. And I got that thing and I was like, whoa, like.
Yeah, but I think the drinks at La Mariana, I don't think that they are at the level of craft cocktails now.
No.
Yeah.
That was a while ago, but I thought it was pretty good. Well, I didn't think it was good. I thought it was terrible, actually.
Yeah.
Ironically, years later, that's like one of my favorite drinks. I don't know. This might be a favorite. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the spice that I'm getting is probably from the ginger beer. You said you're not really a ginger beer guy.
No, but it doesn't bother me in this.
Yeah. You ever make like Dark and Stormies?
Yeah, I like those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you know it.
It's not. I'm not against ginger beer. I just.
not anti-ginger beer.
Not anti-ginger beer. It's just not like when I'm looking at a tiki menu, it's probably not the first thing I go for.
Is it dark and stormy?
Yeah.
A 2-ingredient cocktail
like
you can make in your house.
If it has ginger beer or apricot.
Well, are we done with talking about this thing? I think at the very least, like, the presentation's really nice.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, and that was always my favorite thing about Trader Vic's cocktails, is that he would go so far as to have almost a different glass for every kind of cocktail. This is the closest glass that I could find that would kind of replicate the footed Pilsner glass.
Yeah.
Well, this is really a stemmed Pilsner glass, but he had a footed one that was like a square bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was coming over, I was like, oh, maybe I'll bring a swizzle, because I don't think he'll have one of those. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not exactly what this was served in, but he did have a glass just like that they used at Trader Vic's, and now I want now I want that.
I figured you had them, but
no, vintage glassware that is not tiki stuff is always one of my favorite things, especially when you try to match them to the glassware that they use at Trader Vic's.
That's great. I mean, that's like a whole nother level.
Yeah, well, I think the obvious stuff is collecting tiki mugs, obviously.
For sure.
But when you go a little bit deeper, then you can kind of, you try to find the glassware that they actually served the stuff in. And
which I think makes it that much better, because you get to see the drink. I feel like the tiki mugs are super cool, but that's kind of like the prize you take home at the end of the night, like from an amusement park,
Yeah, totally. And I always loved drinking out of a tiki mug at a bar where they offer tiki mugs.
For sure.
If I'm drinking at home, it's almost always in a glass.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think if you know like how it's supposed to look and be presented, like whenever I buy a tiki mug and then I know it's going to look killer in a glass, I'm like, can you put it in the tiki mug? And you can't see it, and you're like, kind of like, it's like drinking blindfolded, right?
Totally is. And that's another thing, is we didn't shake these. This is probably the first cocktail that we've ever made on the show that you don't shake, you don't mix, pour it into the glass. But that's why you get that kind of the cool layering of colors. For a while there, you and I were sending photos to each other of like stuff that we'd found at antique malls or like the Long Beach antique swap meet, which is probably one of the best in the country. And I remember walking down this aisle with one of my buddies and going, I saw a Sputnik lamp, like a vintage Sputnik lamp, and I was like, that's gotta be $500, right? So I don't even go and look at it. I don't go look at the price tag or anything. And a little bit later, I believe you send me a photo of, dude, check out what I scored. And it was that lamp. Do you remember what you paid for it?
$25.
I think that ruined the next 3 months of my life for me. I was like $25.
You seemed pretty hung up on it, I remember.
Yeah.
You kept kind of messaging me and putting it in other comments and stuff, but that's really just dumb luck. And
it's dumb luck that I passed over.
But the only skill set in that is it never hurts to ask.
Yeah.
And when I walked up, there were like 4 or 5 people just blind staring at the thing. Like, I looked at my buddy and I'm like, did you make an offer? And he's like, no, I think it's expensive. And I'm like,
yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm like, hey, $25. And the guy's like, sold. And I'm like, boom. And then like everybody looked at me like, what an asshole. And to be honest, I thought they were going to want $500 for it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of, I hate to say it, but I wanted to offend them. Not offend them, but I wanted a reaction. I'm a stir.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to get a reaction like, hey, $25. I waited for the guy to tell me that, hey,
F off.
Yeah. But he's like, sold. And I'm like, I got $25 left.
So you were as surprised about that as I was.
Yeah. And that's where it goes back to dumb luck. And I always open my mouth.
The funny thing is that when I came here tonight, I remember it 4 years ago, and I remember like you were, because we're in his kitchen. So the kitchen's basically a bar. Like it's
a kitchen living room, because this house was built in 1967.
Oh, yeah.
So they would like kind of combo out stuff. Yours is similar, right? Don't you have a kitchen like that kind of stretches?
Yeah, but I think you were trying desperately to corral all of your tiki stuff and your weird stuff into one area.
Yeah.
And when I came in, I was like, oh, it's all gotten away, and the place looks insane. It looks so good. It's
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm actually embarrassed that like the first time you came here, because it seems like it was just so, there was a thought, but there wasn't a process. There wasn't, everything wasn't a couple sketches or whatever.
Yeah, oh right.
And I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like somebody sent me a picture of when I started this place.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God,
don't ever show that to anybody.
Like an old prom photo, you're like,
yeah,
don't ever show anybody. So I was like, it's fine, but it's like sculpting a piece of artwork that, like, you know, you have a slab of clay and eventually it gets to, I think now, I mean, the old adage, the tiki bar's never done. But now I feel I feel comfortable. I don't feel like it's done.
Right.
I mean, I could change something, you know, something would be like, I want that there, but for the most part, like, I feel comfortable. Somebody comes in now and I'm like, you know, they're like, yeah, this is bitching. And I'm like, yeah, it is kind of bitching, you know. Where in the past I was like, yeah, it's I don't know.
It's on its way.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. You know, I get so many comments, people asking me, like, how do you start designing or building a tiki bar? And it's just kind of something I think that happens kind of organically. I have a friend, Adrian, Polynesian Pop on Instagram. He hosts Inside the Desert Oasis Room. His bar was laid out super meticulously. You could tell that he designed every corner, and when he built it, it was like, let's go. Your bar, my bar, some of the other bars, they just kind of happen.
Right.
Like, and I don't know that there's any way to tell somebody, well, what would you suggest if somebody wanted to build a tiki bar?
One thing that I've always been told in the past is when you come in a house, even if it's not a tiki bar, and somebody will say, like, wow, this place has soul.
Oh.
And for me, soul is something where in my travels, I lived in South Africa for quite a while and traveled a lot. And the one thing that always intrigued me and has given me inspiration, making it look legit, like not really following a blueprint, you know? And I know in the tiki world, like, there's a lot of tiki police people that are very, what I want to call them, like purists. In the surf world, like, they're like, oh, I only longboard to single fin, that's it.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's in the tiki world, and I think that's cool because, and I understand there needs to be rules, and you need to guide people, like, hey, you know, fluorescent doesn't work with a tiki carving and whatnot. But
and a Bud Light sign might not be appropriate.
Yeah, Spud McKenzie, like, maybe not, even though it's vintage. Okay.
What if he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt?
That might work.
It might
work, you know, but if I was to tell anybody about anything tiki, whatever, is make it yours, make it your space, and make it about you so that people come in and there's a story about everything, you know. Like, I just loved going into surf shops and restaurants that have pictures of the past and artwork of the past. It was like you kind of got yourself into their memories. Does that make sense? And like we were talking earlier about, like, tiki tea. I love how tiki tea it's classic, it's traditional, and then you could see where they were in that period of the 70s and 80s where things went funky and dark with tiki, right? And so there's things like in that little fountain or whatever, and there's weird stuff in there. I think it came from the 70s and maybe 80s, and I'm always like, but I dig that.
Weird lights and stuff that are spinning in the background that don't go.
They don't go, but they're cool. And I think that, like, don't worry about the tiki police. Be like who you want to be, and if you like it, you know, incorporate it. I love Elvis. I love Crazy Velvets and stuff. And yeah, you could say, yeah, it's kitsch, and a lot of people dig that stuff. So whatever, Kurt. But I don't know. I just put what I want into it. You could probably go around here and go, oh, surfboards aren't tiki. And
well, that is a funny thing because surfboards kind of aren't tiki.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, surfboards were part of the youth of, like, the 50s and 60s.
Sure.
And tiki bars really, in the 50s and 60s, were for, like, grown-ups wearing suits. But we've said it even on the show, is that as the years have gone on, especially with surf music, and, like, even the inclusion of, I don't want to say, like, punk rock, but kind of that ethos, you start bringing things in that are cool, you know?
True.
Hot rods and...
Right. And rockabilly, and if you think about it, and I was thinking about this the other day, is late 50s, early 60s with the tiki bars, the people that were going to the tiki bars were probably parents that were all dressed in, like, three-piece suits, and there were square pegs for the most part. And the rockabilly kids and the surfers, they were out, like, hot rodding and doing whatever.
Yep, hanging out on the beach.
So, and if you look at the evolution now, like, the inclusion of rockabilly and hot rods and the crowd that actually comes to tiki. So you pull in all these different elements. Like I said, back in the day, like, it was like probably square parents, and they couldn't pay their kids to go into a tiki bar.
Right. Yeah. Especially both of us. We're not trying to recreate exactly that ambiance. Like, we're not.
Well, your bar is pretty traditional. You kind of steered that line, and I like that because you've got Papua New Guinea stuff, and you know, I dig that, and I have a lot of respect for that. I just think that, like, it's, and I think that's your style.
Yeah, I think so too, but I also don't look at your bar and go, oh, that's weird, that's out of place. Like, because I do think that surfboards in today's kind of context are absolutely tiki, and especially the boards that the boards that he collects are just, they're kind of next level. He's a serious collector.
I mean, there's some good ones in here. You know, there's a Herbie Fletcher up there that, it's a red one. It's reminiscent of Herbie Fletcher on the cover of Surfer Magazine at Malia Bay in Maui. Board? That's not the board, but it's similar. You get a squared off nose, but I mean, that's similar, and that's Hawaii, you know, and that kind of ties in. You got the Jerry Lopez model over there.
Lightning bolt, right?
Yeah, and then, you know, you've got
Pipeline, and
you've got the Quicksilver board riders over there. And that was in the board riders, and they did a lot of, actually, they did tiki in the 90s. They did you probably know, the Roxy tiki lamps, remember?
I have one of those, yeah. Do we need to make another one?
Sure. They're pretty good now, huh?
Yeah, super good. Yeah, it's super good now.
You say that about
it's the best cocktail ever. I guess like practical advice that you might give to somebody, I've heard it from a lot of people, is that layers are important. Like
absolutely.
And you know, it's like hard to see your ceiling, which is a great thing because not being able to see everything in the first visit is like a big part of it.
Absolutely.
And then the next time you come back, you go, oh, dude, I didn't know you had this. Or
absolutely.
Like, and then Bamboo Ben is famous for saying no white walls.
He mentioned the ceilings.
Oh.
I thought he did.
Oh, what did he say about the ceilings?
He said, like, you know, I don't remember, I can't quote him, but, you know, you're always looking at the walls. I don't know if it was him, but somebody said something about the ceilings, and, you know, you're always looking at the walls, you're, like, tripping out, but then, you know, you get that point where you're, like, sitting in a bar stool and you're looking up, and, you know, especially, like, college bars where you see money and stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I always thought that, like, I didn't want to see just, like, basic white up there. So now, like, at tiki bars, I'll stare up, and then I see, like, a heating tube or something, like
throws you out.
Yeah. So
that was always my complaint about Trader Sam's at Disneyland.
Okay.
Is their ceilings are so bare, and I know that the bartenders there, who are great bartenders, have nothing to say about it, and even I think the designers had nothing to say about it because it's probably they want to try and keep it as clean as possible. It's got to be Disney. And
I think it's that crosshatched that's on the wall.
Yeah, it's like matting.
Yeah, but it's so high you can't see the design.
But my thing is like, when you go into, is it False Idol in San Diego? Where it's like nothing but fish floats, where you can't see the ceiling because it's so loaded with fish.
I mean, do you like that?
Yes, I love that.
I love it too.
It must have cost them $1 zillion in fish floats.
I love that because every time I get a float or a lamp and my wife says, "You've got plenty of lamps," I'm like, remember False Idol?
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Thank God, False Idol. Thanks for doing that. My God, let me say that again. I don't have my,
where's your teleprompter?
I don't have a teleprompter either.
Oh, man.
Sorry, we've lost momentum here. Niam Tong Boon. Okay. The Raffles Gin Sling was invented by a guy named Niang Ting Boon. Oh man, I probably butchered that one. And so the Chinese dude, so Niang Ting Boon, oh my God. Niam Tong Boon. Okay. Niam Tong Boon. From the tube would come. Okay. And just like I shoot X all the time, that sounds like I'm shooting drugs. The damned. And so from Trader Vic's in the 1950s, by way of the Raffles bar, by way of the, oh, this is gonna take a couple of times.
Raffles Sling, right?
Say it louder.
Raffles Sling. Why is it
the Raffles Gin Sling?
Gin Sling.
Okay.
Why are we having such a hard time with that?
I don't know.
It's like a tongue twister now. It's gonna hit me now.
I know. It makes the show way more fun, doesn't it? I should have had one of these, what are they called?
I'm kind of buzzing. It's a hold on. Raff Gin Sling.
Raffles. All right, we had to stop for a minute, but what are we drinking now?
This is called a Creepy Clown.
Creepy Clown. I hate clowns.
Don't we all?
Mm-hmm. Oh, huh? So up front, it's like a normal cocktail, and then at the tail end, you get some kind of peanut circus vibe. Weird. Very good. Thank you.
You like it? To be honest.
Yeah, I do.
It's, I think, a little bit more on the sweet side.
Yeah.
Than on the sour side.
Yeah, it doesn't have like an aggressive peanut flavoring. That's what I was afraid of. Was like it was gonna be like a very
well. The circus peanut is actually banana and orange.
Oh,
flavor. Yeah, it's not peanut.
Oh, okay. Because our buddy BG Reynolds makes a peanut. What's it called? Circus peanut.
Circus peanut product shot.
Yeah, and I was like, who wants to put peanuts in their cocktails?
No, it's not peanut. So
nobody wants peanuts in their cocktails.
It was a candy, a marshmallow candy, and it was a banana and orange.
Oh.
And it was shaped like a peanut. And they were called circus peanuts.
Oh, okay.
They were very unpopular with my friends, and I loved them. And they said they were creepy, so I called it the creepy clown.
It's really good. I was anticipating like a peanut flavoring. So, yeah.
No peanut.
What is your favorite tiki bar? Son of a bitch.
Mai Kai, hands down.
Okay, if it's not the Mai Kai, what's your favorite tiki bar?
Why can't it be the Mai Kai?
Because everybody says the Mai Kai.
Everybody says the Mai Kai?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's the best.
So, but everybody says, oh, so I gotta be different.
What? We put a moratorium on saying that it's the Mai Kai.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the Taj Mahal of tiki bars. I haven't thought long and hard of the second best tiki bar.
You know, honestly, I think I just ruined the night.
No,
it's like
no.
Broken-hearted.
I would say next to that, I would say Trader Vic's in Atlanta.
I've heard that. It's really good.
Yeah, because it's like in downtown, and it's in a building, and you take an elevator. And what's cool is there's a little button that says Trader Vic's, and so you know that could go either way. You know, and for me, like it was like Get Smart. You know, it was like
yeah,
you know,
like you know something that nobody else knows.
Yeah, so it was cool. And then you walk into it, but the fact that it's in this big building and it's, you know, industrial, corporate. Once you walk into the hallway, it's just like nothing short of amazing. And to me, that feels like a kind of a standard answer, the Trader Vic's, because they know so much.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know that there are a lot of people that have been to Trader Vic's, people who are into tiki now, because there are so few Trader Vic's left. You know, I used to go to the one in Beverly Hills, which was just beautiful.
Right.
But I recently, like within 5 years, went to the Trader Vic's in London.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and it's got this big sweeping staircase, and the walls are covered in tapa, and it's incredible.
I think they're on another level. Like they've been in the game so long, they know what to do, and
I don't know why they can't come back.
I'm not sure, but
I'm not sure either.
I enjoyed the Atlanta one. That was just kind of random that we were driving through. We wanted to stop, and it was amazing. Like the decor. I mean, I don't. It feels weird saying that because they're Trader Vic's, and I feel like they know. You know what I mean?
I know.
But every nook and cranny was just like so well laid out. I think Trader Vic's in Atlanta really left an impression on me.
Is there a bar that you go, I can't wait to go back to that place for that one drink?
Great question.
And if you have to say the Mai Kai, then I totally don't blame you.
I mean, you know what? As far as the Mai Kai, there's like, I mean, you could get like 10 different drinks, and they're like amazing. I think every drink I've had at the Mai Kai, they're like, number one, they're amazing. Number two, like they're like, you're like, like right away. Shoot. And I would say the same for, that's a great question. I like that question. You know what? Honestly, it used to be for me, and I say used to be because they're no longer in existence. Don the Beachcomber in Sunset had a single scorpion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It wasn't like amazing, but it was great, strong. It like was like get one before dinner, and then the second one, and you were like straight, like boom. I
always liked the Missionary's Downfall there because it was like one of the few cocktails that they actually made there because they batched everything in the back otherwise. I think the first time that we met, you wrote me and you're like, hey, I'm a photographer. I have tickets to one of your shows. Was it the Halloween show?
No, it was the last Dawns that they did.
It was the farewell thing. And you're like, can I shoot this? And I was like, yes. It's so funny because photographers are, and I don't say this because I am a photographer, but I think about how important photographers are in just capturing moments. And especially every time I put together one of these shows, I have to dig and try to find photos to put in there. Without photographers or even people with their cell phones, you know, all those moments go by. And
it's that part that happened.
It's such an important thing because, you know, that whole era of Don the Beachcomber seems like it went by so quick. And I think it was about 10 years of Don the Beachcomber in Sunset Beach. There were a lot of people that had negative things to say about it. And the whole time I was going, it's gonna go away. You should appreciate it now.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. We're working on bringing it back.
Okay.
Yeah, but no promises here.
Yeah. No, I was the same way.
Yeah.
I used to drag my family there. I'm like, wow, why are we going here?
Right, yeah.
I'm like, you're not going to see another place like this. That square footage, what was in there in the history, and I'm like, it's not going to last. And I wasn't trying to be morbid, but you could see it in that area. It's prime real estate. And
what is the thing that you collect? What's your favorite place to surf?
Damn. Jeffreys Bay, South Africa. Hands down. I don't care what anybody says.
What's your favorite place to surf in Waikiki?
Like Waikiki proper, like in the confinements of like the Pink Hotel and freaking like Duke's or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably Queens.
Ooh.
And Queens on the off season. One time we were on the North Shore, and the family I stay with, we were gonna drive over to hang out at Duke's and surf Queens. And we're laughing and giggling. That's a fun trip. And say, oh, you want to pack a longboard for you? And I'm like, nah, I don't do longboards. And so I packed my twin fin. And
it's a soft wave for a twin fin.
Yeah. But so we got there, and off season's funny because it wasn't really crowded. Queens in the summertime is like bonkers.
Oh right.
With tourists and the aunties and the uncles and blah blah blah. And anyways, it was like uncrowded, and my buddy who lived on the North Shore, he goes, I'm gonna go get a drink at Duke's. And I'm like, cool. I literally like walked out on the low tide sandbar, and this little chip shot little right was coming in at Queens, and the Groms were longboarding. It was cool, and I was actually getting these like 4-turn little waves.
Oh really?
Doing a little wraparound.
Oh
and stuff.
wow!
And I came into Duke's after I was done, and like, oh bro, I should have brought my board, man. I thought you were having so much fun.
They were all watching you.
Yeah, and I was like,
so
dude, and to this day, that's like one of my funnest. Is that a word?
Yeah, that's what they say in surfing.
Yeah, one of my funnest sessions ever.
Funnest is a word in
surfing,
surfing.
and it just it's the old adage, always have a board in your car, and then I had a Mai Tai afterwards.
That's what I love about surfing at Waikiki is I remember being out and Rabbit Kakai like calling me off a wave and me going, yeah, go right ahead. I was like, but you can hear the music from Waikiki. You can see Diamond Head. It's like a time warp. It's a whole experience. I think South Shore is it's such a great experience in so many ways, Well, yeah, North Shore tries to kill you.
Yeah.
And South Shore is like really fun. Every time I go, maybe I'll move to Vegas or something, and then I go surf and I go, what are you talking about? We live so close to the ocean, and it's like it's such an amazing like privilege to be here and to be able to.
It's a blessing.
It is, And every time you surf, it's like, why would you ever leave this?
It's a trap.
What's the unicorn that you've collected in the tiki world of your collecting?
In the tiki world of my collecting,
because you kind of have some big tikis though too.
Yeah, I would say
the bar.
No, nothing.
Nothing?
No, I mean, a true hoarder.
Your answers are getting a little bit too ethereal, nebulous.
I mean, there's, you know what? Okay, if I was gonna say anything, it would be. I mean, it's like, what's the definition of rare? I mean, like somebody will come across something like
not available to other people.
Yeah, opportunity comes to people that knock.
Totally.
And I keep knocking. Do you think you got the best? No, because there's always something better.
Of course, yeah.
But things dear to my heart, I will say in the tiki world, that painting over there, because it's on masonite, and it was just it's so random and it's so freaking cool because I was in a period in the early 90s where tiki and surf things were kind of like everybody's looking for them, like and so I would go in and get records because in the 90s nobody wanted records.
Oh right.
It was all CDs, and so I would get stacks, singles, British imports and whatnot. So all I would do is like records, and nobody would bug me. I'd stack them on. Nobody would ever look at me. Like people were looking for tiki mugs and people were looking for surf. And anyways, I was looking for records, and I found 3 copies of 5 Summer Stories.
Oh wow! Classic surf video
on Granite Records, and I'm like, wow, got it. And this thing kept falling over on me, and I'm like, kept throwing it over, like, you know, like kept falling over.
Get off me.
Throwing it back, and it was like this big long piece of masonite. And finally I'm like, what the frick is this? So I flipped it around, and it was this like oil painting of tikis in a tiki hut in this jungle.
Wow.
Like from the 60s. And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. I'm like, and it had like, on the back had a sticker like $1.50. You know?
Oh, I miss those days so much.
Yeah, so I put it in the stash, so I walked out of there with like 3 copies of 5 Summer Stories and that tiki painting, and it hangs over there. And I love it because like one of the tikis, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of primitive, whatever you call it, but I love like the one dude's staring out of the palm fronds, you know. And I dig that thing. Like to this day, that's my favorite tiki thing. I don't know what it's worth. I don't really care.
See where we're at.
And maybe it was somewhere. I don't. Maybe like Sven or some of those guys knows the history on it. But I mean, it might have been in a restaurant. So there you go.
The end.